continued viewership. Before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? We love knowing our global reach. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Glass Castles. Vincent Blackwell sat in his home office, finalizing the designs for what would become the most ambitious architectural project of his career. At 42, he had built a reputation as one of Philadelphia's premier architects, known for blending modern aesthetics with practical sustainability. The late evening shadows stretched across his drafting table as he made the final adjustments to the Morgan Heights Community Center, a project that would cement his legacy. The sound of the front door opening broke his concentration. Lily was home. His wife of 15 years worked as a pediatric surgeon at Philadelphia General, her schedule often as demanding as his own. Their professional lives had created a comfortable rhythm over the years, two ambitious people supporting each other's dreams while building a life together. "Vince," Lily called out, her voice carrying through their spacious colonial home. "Are you still working?" Vincent saved his work and stepped away from his desk. "Just wrapping up," he replied, moving to greet her. When they met in the hallway, he noticed the fatigue etched across her face. "Rough day." Lily dropped her bag by the entryway table. At 40, she remained strikingly beautiful, her auburn hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, green eyes that still captured him after all these years. "Lost a patient today. 10-year-old with complications from appendicitis. Shouldn't have happened." Vincent pulled her into an embrace. This was their ritual, being each other's harbor after difficult days. "I'm sorry," he whispered against her hair. "Want to talk about it?" She stiffened slightly in his arms before pulling away. "Actually, I think I just need a shower and sleep. Ryan might stop by later with some case notes I left at the hospital." Vincent nodded, trying to ignore the subtle change in her demeanor at the mention of Ryan Fletcher. His best friend since college had become a cardiovascular surgeon at the same hospital as Lily, and they'd grown closer over the past year through their professional collaboration. Vincent had always been grateful that his wife and best friend got along so well. "I'll leave some dinner in the microwave for you both," he said, watching as Lily climbed the stairs without looking back. Later that night, Vincent found himself unable to sleep, distracted by the quiet voices coming from the kitchen. Lily and Ryan had been reviewing case notes for nearly 2 hours. Their laughter floated up the stairs, comfortable, intimate laughter that made something twist in Vincent's stomach. He turned over in bed, telling himself he was being ridiculous. They were colleagues, friends, nothing more. The following morning, Vincent prepared breakfast as Lily rushed to get ready for an early surgery. When she kissed him goodbye, it felt perfunctory. "Will you be home for dinner?" he asked, catching her hand before she could rush out. "Probably not. There's a department meeting that might run late," she replied, gently extracting her hand. "Don't wait up." After she left, Vincent checked their shared calendar on the refrigerator. There was no department meeting scheduled. The first seed of doubt took root. That evening, Vincent called Ryan about their weekend plans to watch the Eagles game. Ryan answered, background noise suggesting he was at a restaurant. "Hey, can I call you back tomorrow?" "I'm in the middle of something," Ryan said, his voice slightly hushed. "Sure, no problem." "Late dinner?" Vincent asked casually. There was a brief pause. "Yeah, just grab a bite after work. Talk tomorrow." After hanging up, Vincent stared at his phone, an uneasy feeling settling over him. On impulse, he called the hospital and asked for Lily, only to be told she had left hours ago. He checked her location on their shared phone app. It showed her at Riverside Park, miles from the hospital or home. Vincent poured himself a whiskey and sat in the darkened living room, waiting. When Lily finally returned close to midnight, her excuse about the meeting running late and stopping for a drink with colleagues felt hollow against the evidence mounting in his mind. Over the next 2 weeks, Vincent began noticing other inconsistencies. Text messages Lily would quickly hide when he entered the room, weekend conferences that weren't listed on the hospital website, calls from Ryan that she would take in another room. The foundation of trust he had built his marriage upon was developing hairline fractures, threatening to collapse the entire structure. Chapter 2. The Architect of Deception. Vincent had always considered himself a reasonable man. Evidence, logic, and careful analysis formed the backbone of his professional success. Now, he would apply those same principles to his personal life. If something was happening between Lily and Ryan, he needed proof before confrontation. On a rainy Tuesday morning, Vincent met with Nora Sullivan, his assistant and the office manager at his architectural firm. At 35, Nora had been with him since he started the company, her efficiency and discretion proving invaluable over the years. "I need to take a few personal days," Vincent told her, sliding a folder of completed designs across his desk. "The Morgan project is ready for submission. Everything else can wait until next week." Nora studied him with concerned brown eyes. "Is everything okay? You seem distracted lately." Vincent appreciated her perception, but maintained his composure. "Just some personal matters to attend to. Nothing serious." The lie tasted bitter in his mouth. After leaving the office, Vincent drove to a small electronics store in a strip mall on the outskirts of the city. The middle-aged proprietor, Dominic, had done security consulting for one of Vincent's commercial projects years ago. "Surveillance equipment?" Dominic raised an eyebrow when Vincent explained what he needed. "Trouble at the office?" "Home security upgrade," Vincent replied smoothly. "Recent break-ins in the neighborhood." By that afternoon, Vincent had installed discrete cameras in the common areas of his home and a GPS tracker on Lily's car. He also purchased spyware for their home computer. The methodical precision with which he approached these tasks helped quiet the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm him. This wasn't about jealousy or paranoia, he told himself. This was about truth. That evening, he received a text from Ryan inviting him to lunch the following day. "Need your advice on something important?" the message read. Vincent agreed, curious whether his friend would reveal anything. They met at a steakhouse they frequently patronized. Ryan seemed nervous, fidgeting with the silverware and avoiding direct eye contact. "Everything okay with you and Pamela?" Vincent asked, referring to Ryan's girlfriend of 2 years. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "We broke up last month. I've been meaning to tell you, but it's been complicated." "I'm sorry to hear that," Vincent said, watching his friend's reactions carefully. "Any particular reason?" Ryan took a long drink of water. "Sometimes people just grow apart, you know? Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I'm thinking of taking a position at Mayo Clinic. It's a fantastic opportunity, but it would mean moving to Minnesota." The news hit Vincent like a physical blow. Was Ryan planning to leave because of guilt? Or was he planning to take Lily with him? He maintained his composure, asking appropriate questions about the position while his mind raced through implications. "When would you need to decide?" Vincent asked. "Within the month. I haven't told anyone else yet. Not even at the hospital," Ryan replied, finally making eye contact. Something in his gaze, regret, perhaps, or guilt, strengthened Vincent's suspicions. After lunch, Vincent drove to Philadelphia General Hospital and parked in the visitor lot. He told himself he was just checking if Lily's car was where it should be during her shift. It was. As he was about to leave, he saw her exiting the building with Ryan. They walked closely together, and when they reached her car, Ryan placed his hand on the small of her back in a gesture that appeared far too intimate for mere colleagues. Vincent followed them to a small cafe several blocks from the hospital. Through the window, he watched them sitting close, talking intensely, their hands occasionally touching across the table. When Ryan reached up to brush a strand of hair from Lily's face, Vincent had seen enough. That night, when Lily returned home, Vincent was working in his office, acting as though everything was normal. She mentioned that she'd had lunch with the new hospital administrator, and he nodded without comment, the lie hanging between them like an invisible wall. Later, reviewing the camera footage, he watched Lily make a phone call from their kitchen while he was in the shower. With the volume turned up, he clearly heard her say to Ryan, "I miss you too. We need to tell him soon. This isn't fair to anyone." The final piece of confirmation came when he checked her text messages remotely through the spyware he'd installed. A message to Ryan read, "He suspects nothing. I feel terrible, but I can't help how I feel. When you hold me, everything else disappears." Vincent shut down his computer and walked to the window, staring out at the night sky. 15 years of marriage, 10 years of friendship with Ryan, all built on what now appeared to be a foundation of sand. He had his evidence. Now he needed a plan. Chapter 3. Collapse. The car accident occurred on a Friday afternoon. Vincent received the call from the hospital while in a meeting with clients. "Mr. Blackwell, your wife has been in an accident. She's at Philadelphia General. Her condition is stable, but she's asking for you." Vincent's hands trembled slightly as he gathered his things. What happened? Another driver ran a red light and struck the passenger side of her car. She has a concussion and some lacerations, but nothing life-threatening. The drive to the hospital passed in a blur. Despite the betrayal he discovered, the thought of Lily injured sent a primal fear through him. 15 years of love couldn't be erased overnight, no matter what she had done. When he arrived at the hospital, Vincent rushed to the emergency department. A nurse at the station stopped him as he approached the treatment rooms. "I'm sorry, sir. Only family allowed in the trauma area," she said firmly. "I'm her husband," Vincent replied, his voice tight with stress. The nurse checked her computer screen, frowning slightly. "That's strange. Another man already signed in as her husband." She looked up, confusion evident in her expression. "Dr. Fletcher?" Vincent's heart stopped. The world around him seemed to blur at the edges, sound becoming muffled as though he were underwater. "There must be some mistake," he managed to say. "Ryan Fletcher is a colleague. I'm Vincent Blackwell, Lily's husband." The nurse's expression shifted to one of uncomfortable realization. "I'm sorry for the confusion, Mr. Blackwell. Room 114, down the hall on the right." Vincent walked mechanically toward the room, each step feeling heavier than the last. Through the partially open door, he could see Ryan sitting beside Lily's bed, holding her hand. They hadn't noticed him yet. "We've been trying to find a right time to tell you," Ryan was saying softly. "But after today, I can't keep pretending. When I got the call about the accident, I thought I'd lost you. Life's too short for secrets." "I know," Lily replied, her voice weak but clear. "It's time. He deserves the truth, no matter how painful." Vincent stood frozen in the doorway, watching this intimate exchange. The physical evidence he'd gathered over the past weeks paled in comparison to witnessing this moment. The tenderness between them, the casual way Ryan had claimed the title of husband, the plans they were making about his future. Rather than confront them, Vincent turned and walked away quietly. Neither Lily nor Ryan noticed his presence or his departure. In the hospital parking lot, he sat in his car for nearly an hour, staring at nothing, feeling the last pieces of his former life crumbling around him. That evening, Vincent returned to their empty home. Lily had texted that she was staying overnight at the hospital for observation. He packed methodically clothes, important documents, his architecture awards, and family photographs from before he met Lily. He left her wedding ring on the kitchen counter with a single sentence written on a notepad. "I know everything." Vincent checked into a hotel downtown, created a new email address, and sent formal messages to his assistant and business partner explaining that he needed to take an extended leave due to personal matters. Then he turned off his phone and ordered room service with a bottle of scotch. 3 weeks passed in a haze of strategic planning. Vincent rented a furnished apartment using only cash, consulted with a divorce attorney recommended by a former client, and began transferring his assets to new accounts. He grew a beard, started wearing contacts instead of his usual glasses, and adopted workout clothes instead of his customary suits. Small changes to make him less immediately recognizable. During this time, Lily called incessantly. 27 missed calls accumulated before he finally blocked her number. Emails flooded his inbox, moving from confused to desperate to angry. He read each one without responding, studying her evolving tactics like an archaeologist examining artifact from a dead civilization. "Please come home so we can talk about this. You're being childish by disappearing like this. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. Don't throw away 15 years without giving me a chance to explain. Ryan and I are worried about you. Please just let us know you're okay." The last one made him laugh bitterly. They were worried about him. How considerate. Ryan's messages showed a similar progression, starting with concern and friendship before revealing his true priorities. "Vince, man, I'm so sorry. This isn't how we wanted you to find out. We need to talk about this like adults. Disappearing isn't solving anything. Lily is a wreck. Whatever you think of me, Don't punish her. I know I broke the bro code in the worst possible way, but you're still my best friend. The partnership at Mayo Clinic needs my answer. Lily and I are planning to accept. I hope someday you can forgive us. Vincent archived these messages without reply. Forgiveness was not in his vocabulary anymore. Instead, he began constructing something new from the ruins of his former life. A blueprint for retribution that would be as meticulous and precisely engineered as any building he had ever designed. On the 22nd day of his self-imposed exile, Vincent received an unexpected visitor at his temporary apartment. He had been careful, but apparently not careful enough. When he opened the door, Nora stood there, concern etched on her face. "Your wife hired a private investigator," she said without preamble. "He came asking questions at the office. I figured you should know." Vincent invited her in, surprised by her loyalty. "How did you find me?" Nora gave him a look that managed to be both sympathetic and exasperated. "I've managed your calendar for 8 years. You always stay at the Westmore when you need to think. When you weren't there, I checked nearby apartment buildings with short-term leases." She paused. "You look terrible, by the way." For the first time in weeks, Vincent smiled genuinely. "I'm working on that." Over coffee, Vincent confided in Nora about the betrayal. She listened without judgment, occasionally asking clarifying questions with the same efficiency she brought to their professional relationship. "What are you planning to do?" she finally asked. Vincent considered her trustworthy, but decided against sharing the full scope of his intentions. "Get a divorce. Move forward." Nora studied him, clearly not convinced by his simple answer. "They're leaving for Minnesota in 2 months. Lily came by the office looking for you. She mentioned the Mayo Clinic opportunity." "Good for them," Vincent replied coldly. Nora reached across the table and squeezed his hand briefly. "Just be careful, Vincent. Revenge might feel justified, but it can consume you if you're not careful." After she left, Vincent returned to his laptop where dozens of open tabs displayed information about Ryan's career, Lily's family connections, property records, and Minnesota state law. Nora's warning echoed in his mind, but he dismissed it. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about justice, a reckoning for those who had shattered the life he had built with such care. He would give them exactly what they wanted, the freedom to be together. But first, he would ensure they understood the true cost of their betrayal. Chapter 4. Blueprints of Retribution. 6 weeks after disappearing from his old life, Vincent moved into a sparsely furnished apartment across town under the name Victor Bennett. The transformation was more than physical. The beard, the contacts instead of glasses, the casual clothes replacing tailored suits. He had methodically dismantled his former identity, preserving only what was necessary to execute his plans. The divorce proceedings were underway, conducted through his attorney, with minimal direct contact. Vincent had surprised Lily by not contesting the division of assets or fighting for the house. His apparent capitulation made her suspicious, her attorney reaching out repeatedly to clarify that this wasn't some kind of trick. Vincent allowed her to keep most of their joint possessions, requesting only specific items with sentimental value in his firm's control. "You're making this too easy for them," his attorney, Patricia Walsh, observed during one of their meetings. "The judge will wonder why you're not fighting harder." Vincent offered a thin smile. "I'm fighting a different battle, one that began with understanding his targets better than they understood themselves." Vincent had spent weeks compiling information. Ryan's gambling habit that he'd successfully hidden from most of his friends, Lily's estranged relationship with her parents due to their disapproval of her career choices, the mountain of debt they both carried from medical school that their high salaries had only begun to address. Most importantly, he learned about their planned future together. Through careful electronic surveillance and information gathered by a private investigator he'd hired, Vincent discovered they had already placed a down payment on a lakeside property near Rochester, Minnesota. Ryan had signed his contract with Mayo Clinic, scheduled to begin in 2 months. Lily had applied for positions at the same institution, using Ryan's new influence to expedite her application. They were building a new life while the remnants of their old ones were still smoldering. Vincent intended to ensure that new foundation was as unstable as the ones they had abandoned. His first move came during a medical conference in Boston that both Ryan and Lily attended. While they were gone, Vincent, using the access codes he still had from when they were friends, entered Ryan's apartment and installed surveillance software on his personal computer. He also placed a GPS tracker on Ryan's car and copied the data from his home office. Among Ryan's files, Vincent found something unexpected: extensive research on alternative cancer treatments, clinical trials, and experimental procedures. Notes in the margins referenced MHB repeatedly. Vincent remembered that Ryan's mother, Marjorie Helen Blackwell, had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer last year. The Mayo Clinic position suddenly made more sense. They specialized in exactly the kind of cutting-edge treatments Ryan was researching. This discovery provided Vincent with a crucial piece of his puzzle. Ryan wasn't just pursuing career advancement. He was desperately trying to save his mother's life by gaining access to treatments not available elsewhere. Vincent felt a moment of unwanted empathy before hardening his resolve. Everyone had their reasons for betrayal. That didn't justify it. Back in his apartment, Vincent received an unexpected call from Drew Porter, an old college friend who now worked as a pharmaceutical executive. "Heard through the grapevine that you're going through some rough times," Drew said after preliminary small talk. "Divorce, right?" Vincent confirmed without elaborating. News travels fast. "Look, I know we haven't been close in recent years, but I'm in town next week. Let me buy you a drink. Might have a business proposition that could interest you." The timing was serendipitous. Vincent had been looking for opportunities to expand his network beyond architecture, knowing his revenge would require resources and connections in other industries. They arranged to meet at an upscale bar downtown the following Tuesday. Drew Porter had aged well since college, still athletically built with only hints of gray at his temples. He greeted Vincent with genuine warmth that briefly reminded him of better days. "Honestly, I almost didn't recognize you," Drew said, gesturing to Vincent's new appearance. "The beard suits you, though." Over drinks, Drew explained his proposition. His pharmaceutical company, Nexus Therapeutics, was expanding into a new research facility and needed an architect who understood both aesthetics and the specialized requirements of medical research spaces. "Your work on the Westlake Medical Center impressed our board," Drew explained. "We're prepared to offer a very competitive contract, with potential for ongoing work if the first project succeeds." Vincent listened attentively, asking relevant questions while his mind processed the implications. Nexus Therapeutics was one of the leading companies developing the exact treatments Ryan's mother needed. The synchronicity was too perfect to ignore. "I'm interested," Vincent said finally, "but I should mention that I'm planning to relocate soon. Would that be an issue?" Drew smiled. "Actually, the facility is in Rochester, Minnesota. We're partnering with Mayo Clinic on several research initiatives. Would that location work for you?" Vincent allowed himself a small smile. "Perfectly." Later that night, Vincent added this new development to his planning board: a large corkboard in his bedroom, where he tracked all elements of his revenge strategy. Red thread connected photographs of Lily and Ryan to their new home and workplace in Minnesota. Blue thread linked his own planned movements. Yellow marked potential pressure points and vulnerabilities. The next morning, Vincent received a text from an unknown number. "I know what you're planning. We should talk," followed by an address in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. Cautious but curious, Vincent drove to the location that afternoon. It was a modest ranch-style home with well-maintained gardens. When he knocked, the door was opened by an older man with military-straight posture and evaluating eyes. "Harold Mitchell," the man introduced himself. "You might remember me as Lily's father." Vincent had met Harold only twice during his marriage, once at the wedding and once during a tense Christmas dinner 5 years ago. The estrangement between Lily and her parents had been one of the few subjects she refused to discuss in detail. "Come in," Harold said. "We have matters to discuss." The interior was meticulously organized, with photographs of military service and family members arranged precisely on the walls. Harold led Vincent to a sunroom at the back of the house, where a silver-haired woman sat reading. "Marie," Harold said. "Vincent's here." Lily's mother looked up, studying Vincent with the same critical eyes as her husband. "You've changed your appearance," she observed. "Smart move." Vincent remained standing. "Why am I here?" Harold gestured to a chair. "Because we share a common interest. My daughter has made a terrible mistake, and we believe you're planning to make her face consequences." "If you're asking me to reconsider," Vincent began. Marie interrupted. "We're offering to help." This unexpected alliance required careful consideration. Vincent sat down, listening as Harold and Marie explained their position. They had never approved of Ryan, seeing through his charm to the selfish ambition beneath. When Lily had called them after Vincent's disappearance, ostensibly seeking comfort, but actually fishing for information on his whereabouts, they had recognized the manipulation techniques they'd warned her about for years. "She chose her path," Marie said, her voice tinged with resigned sadness. "But that doesn't mean we approve of how she's walking it." Harold was more direct. "That man will ruin her professionally and personally. We've seen his type before. Once he gets what he wants from Mayo Clinic, she'll find herself discarded just like you were." Vincent considered their offer carefully. Having allies with personal knowledge of Lily could be valuable, but he was reluctant to share his full plans with anyone. "I appreciate your position," he said finally, "but I work alone." Harold nodded as though he'd expected this answer. "At least take this," he said, sliding a flash drive across the table. "Financial records, personal correspondence, information that might prove useful. We've been keeping tabs on them both since we suspected something was happening between them." Vincent pocketed the drive. "Why are you really doing this?" Marie answered, her voice suddenly tired. "Because despite everything, she's our daughter. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we need most. Better she learn it now from you than years later when the stakes are higher." As Vincent drove home, he reflected on this unexpected turn. Harold and Marie Mitchell were offering themselves as unwitting pawns in his game, potentially useful, but also unpredictable. He would need to incorporate them carefully, using their resources while ensuring they remained at arm's length from his ultimate plans. That night, reviewing the contents of the flash drive, Vincent found something that made his breath catch. Evidence that Ryan had been manipulating Lily for far longer than the affair suggested. Emails dating back 3 years showed Ryan strategically becoming her confidant, subtly undermining her marriage by emphasizing Vincent's workaholic tendencies and absences. When Lily had been passed over for department chief last year, Ryan had suggested it was because the board viewed her as too committed to family life, implying that her marriage was holding back her career. The betrayal ran deeper than passion or opportunity. It had been methodically orchestrated over years. Vincent added this revelation to his planning board, the red threads multiplying as the true scope of deception became clear. 2 days later, Vincent received notification that his divorce had been finalized. The same afternoon, he signed a contract with Nexus Therapeutics and booked his flight to Rochester, Minnesota. The blueprints of his retribution were complete. Now it was time to break ground. Chapter 5: Foundations. Rochester, Minnesota welcomed Vincent with a blanket of early autumn snow. He arrived 3 weeks before Ryan and Lily were scheduled to move, giving him time to establish himself and prepare the battlefield. The apartment he leased was in the same upscale complex where they had signed a lease, though in a different building. Close enough to monitor, distant enough to avoid casual encounters. His first week was dedicated to professional establishment. Vincent, now consistently using his Victor Bennett identity, met with the Nexus Therapeutics team, impressing them with his comprehensive understanding of their specialized facility needs. Drew had recommended him highly, and Vincent ensured their faith was justified, presenting initial concepts that seamlessly integrated research functionality with architectural innovation. "This is exactly what we've been looking for," Dr. Elaine Warner, the research director, told him after his presentation. "Someone who understands that form and function aren't competing principles in scientific spaces." Vincent cultivated this professional relationship carefully, learning about the company's research priorities, particularly their groundbreaking work on advanced cancer treatments. He asked thoughtful questions about their partnership with Mayo Clinic, establishing himself as someone with genuine interest in medical advancement rather than just another contractor. You know, we're collaborating with a new cardiovascular surgeon starting next month, Dr. Warner mentioned during one of their meetings. Dr. Fletcher, brilliant mind, particularly interested in our vascular regeneration project. Vincent maintained his neutral expression. Sound impressive. I look forward to meeting him. The second phase of Vincent's plan began with Harold Mitchell's unexpected arrival in Rochester. The older man appeared at Vincent's apartment unannounced, carrying a single suitcase. I've rented a place 10 minutes from here, Harold explained without preamble. Marie stayed behind to avoid suspicion, but we agreed I should be on site. Vincent's irritation at this unsolicited involvement was tempered by pragmatism. Harold had resources and motivation that could prove useful. What exactly are you planning to contribute? Harold's military background showed in his precise, strategic thinking. Intelligence gathering primarily. I've already made connections at Mayo through old service buddies. Plus, I've moved some funds into position if financial leverage becomes necessary. After careful consideration, Vincent decided to incorporate Harold into a limited portion of his plans. He explained his position at Nexus Therapeutics and how it connected to Ryan's research interests without revealing the full scope of what he intended. You're playing a longer game than I expected, Harold observed. I thought you'd be more direct. Direct actions create immediate satisfaction, but limited impact, Vincent replied. I'm more interested in comprehensive results. Their unlikely partnership formed around a shared objective, though Vincent suspected their definitions of justice differed significantly. Harold wanted his daughter to see Ryan's true nature. Vincent wanted them both to experience complete dismantling of the future they'd built on the ruins of his trust. The third week brought an unexpected complication. While reviewing Nexus's research documentation, Vincent discovered that Ryan's mother's cancer had progressed significantly. She had been accepted into a highly selective trial program at Mayo Clinic, one of only 20 patients nationwide, which explained Ryan's desperate focus on securing his position there. The trial was scheduled to begin the same week Ryan started his new job. This information created an ethical dilemma Vincent hadn't anticipated. His plans would potentially affect not just the people who had betrayed him, but an innocent woman fighting for her life. Vincent spent a restless night considering his options before reaching a decision. He would adjust his timeline, but not his ultimate objective. Marjorie Blackwell would receive her treatment before the consequences of her son's actions fully materialized. The day before Ryan and Lily were scheduled to arrive, Vincent visited their future home. Using the building maintenance uniform he'd acquired through careful planning, he gained access to their apartment. He installed discrete surveillance devices in common areas and planted the custom software he developed on the pre-installed smart home system. The technology would allow him to monitor their conversations and activities while controlling subtle environmental factors, temperature fluctuations, intermittent Wi-Fi disruptions, random alarm triggers, minor irritations designed to create a constant undercurrent of stress. That evening, Harold reported that Ryan and Lily had checked into a hotel across town. They would move into their apartment tomorrow. What's our first move? Harold asked as they shared a drink in Vincent's apartment. Vincent swirled the whiskey in his glass. We wait. Let them settle in, feel secure. The most effective attack comes when the target believes they're safe. Harold frowned. Passive approach. Strategic patience, Vincent corrected. And while we wait, we continue building our positions. You mentioned financial leverage. Harold nodded. I've secured a controlling interest in a property management company that owns their apartment complex. And I have connections looking into the private equity firm backing Nexus Therapeutics. Vincent raised an eyebrow, genuinely impressed. You've been thorough. Marines, Harold said simply. We don't start missions without proper preparation. The next day, Vincent watched through remote surveillance as Ryan and Lily moved into their new home. They looked happy, excited about their fresh start. Lily arranged photographs on shelves, none featuring Vincent, he noted, while Ryan unpacked kitchenware, the domestic scene a stark contrast to the professional personas they maintained publicly. We made it, Ryan said, pulling Lily into an embrace. Clean slate, just like we planned. I still feel terrible about how things ended with Vincent, Lily replied, her expression clouded momentarily. Ryan's response was revealing. He made his choice by disappearing. You're not responsible for his inability to handle the situation like an adult. Vincent watched this exchange with cold detachment. The surveillance confirmed what he already knew. Their narrative cast him as the villain, their betrayal reframed as inevitable love that couldn't be denied. This self-serving revision of history strengthened his resolve. They would learn that actions had consequences, regardless of how they justified them to themselves. That night, Vincent activated the first phase of his plan, a subtle manipulation of their environment. Their apartment temperature dropped 5 degrees overnight. Not enough to be immediately alarming, but sufficient to disturb their sleep. Their internet connection became sporadically unreliable, particularly during Ryan's attempt to video conference with Mayo Clinic administrators. The smart speaker system randomly played music at low volume during the early morning hours, then denied any record of activation when questioned. These minor disruptions would gradually increase, creating an atmosphere of unpredictability and tension in what should have been their sanctuary. Meanwhile, Vincent prepared for his first direct contact with Ryan through their professional connection, scheduling a meeting with the Mayo Nexus collaborative team for the following week. The foundations of his revenge were now firmly established. Like any well-designed structure, it would appear ordinary from the outside while concealing complex systems within. And like any master architect, Vincent had built in contingencies for unexpected developments. Whatever actions Ryan and Lily took from this point forward, they would be moving through a space he had engineered specifically for their undoing. Chapter 6: Structural Integrity. The collaborative meeting between Mayo Clinic and Nexus Therapeutics took place in a sleek conference room overlooking Rochester's medical campus. Vincent arrived early, positioning himself at the far end of the table where he could observe without being immediately noticeable. He had prepared meticulously for this moment, the first direct contact with Ryan since the hospital revelation 8 weeks ago. When Ryan entered with a group of Mayo Clinic physicians, he showed no sign of recognizing Vincent. The beard, contacts, and casual professional attire created enough difference from his former appearance. More importantly, Ryan wasn't looking for Vincent Blackwell in this context. Why would his betrayed friend be sitting in a pharmaceutical partnership meeting in Minnesota? Dr. Warner made introductions around the table. And this is Victor Bennett, the architect designing our new research facility. He has an innovative approach to creating spaces that enhance collaborative work. Ryan nodded politely in Vincent's direction without particular interest. The meeting proceeded with discussion of research protocols and facility requirements. Vincent participated appropriately, offering insights on structural adaptations to accommodate specialized equipment while studying Ryan's interactions with colleagues. His former friend appeared confident, already establishing himself as an authority despite being new to the institution. Ryan frequently mentioned his previous research, positioning himself as the natural bridge between Mayo Clinic and Nexus Therapeutics. The other physicians deferred to him with the respect typically reserved for more established colleagues. Near the end of the meeting, Vincent strategically introduced a question about vascular regeneration, Ryan's specific research interest. Dr. Fletcher, I understand you've done groundbreaking work in this area. How might the facility design better support these particular research requirements? Ryan looked directly at Vincent for the first time, momentarily startled by the focused attention. A flicker of unease crossed his face, not recognition, but something more instinctive. Prey sensing a predator's gaze without identifying its source. Good question. Ryan recovered quickly. The primary challenge is maintaining precise environmental conditions for tissue cultivation. Temperature stability within 0.5 degrees is essential. Vincent nodded thoughtfully. That's exactly the kind of specific requirement we need to address early in the design process. Perhaps we could schedule a more detailed consultation? I'd value your expertise. The trap was baited, and Ryan took it without hesitation. Of course, my assistant can coordinate. After the meeting, Vincent deliberately positioned himself near the exit, timing his departure to coincide with Ryan's. In the elevator, he initiated casual conversation. "Impressive work you're doing, Dr. Fletcher. New to Rochester?" Ryan nodded, scrolling through emails on his phone. "Just moved here with my partner. She's a pediatric surgeon, also joining Mayo." "Must be a significant transition," Vincent observed. "Leaving established practices, relocating to a new city." Something in his tone made Ryan look up, studying Vincent more carefully. "Sometimes change is necessary for growth." "And you?" "Local. Recent transplant myself," Vincent replied with a thin smile. "Following opportunities." They parted in the lobby with a professional handshake. As Ryan walked away, Vincent noted the slight tension in his shoulders, the unconscious response to perceived threat. The seed of unease had been planted. Now would grow. That evening, Vincent reviewed the surveillance footage from Ryan and Lily's apartment. They were discussing the persistent issues with their new home, the inconsistent heating, the malfunctioning appliances, the strange electrical fluctuations. "I'll call maintenance again tomorrow," Ryan said, frustration evident in his voice. "This is ridiculous for what we're paying." Lily looked exhausted, the stress of relocation compounded by these mysterious problems. "Maybe we should have rented somewhere else. This place felt too good to be true from the beginning." "It's just teething problems," Ryan insisted. "Every new building has them. Besides, the location is perfect for us both." Vincent increased the intensity of the disruptions slightly, enough to maintain constant irritation without pushing them to move elsewhere. The smart refrigerator began displaying error messages about temperature regulation. The bathroom exhaust fan activated randomly during the night. Small but persistent intrusions into their comfort and security. The following week brought Vincent's scheduled consultation with Ryan. They met in the cardiovascular research wing, where temporary offices had been established for the new physicians. Ryan's space was already personalized with medical texts, research papers, and a single photograph of Lily on the desk. "Mr. Bennett, thank you for making time." Ryan greeted him professionally. "I've reviewed your preliminary designs. Very impressive work." Vincent moved toward the desk, gesturing to the photo. "Family, my partner," Ryan replied with obvious pride. "She's a pediatric surgeon here." "You make a handsome couple," Vincent observed. "Recently together?" Ryan hesitated, the personal question unexpected in a professional consultation. "We've known each other for years, but our relationship is relatively new." "Interesting how that happens," Vincent commented. "People can know each other for ages before suddenly seeing new possibilities." Something in his tone made Ryan look at him more carefully. "Have we met before, Mr. Bennett? Something about you seems familiar." Vincent maintained his composed expression. "I don't believe so. I have one of those faces people tend to think they recognize." He smoothly transitioned to the facility designs, redirecting the conversation to professional matters. Throughout their discussion, Vincent deliberately used phrases and mannerisms from their previous friendship, subtle triggers for Ryan's subconscious. He referenced architectural concepts they had once discussed during their college days, described design approaches using analogies Vincent had typically employed. By the end of their hour together, Ryan was visibly unsettled, though clearly unable to identify why. "I feel like we've had similar conversations before," he said as Vincent prepared to leave. "Strange déjà vu." Vincent smiled. "The mind makes connections in unexpected ways." "I look forward to our next consultation, Dr. Fletcher." Later that day, Vincent met with Harold in a quiet cafe several blocks from Mayo Clinic. The older man reported on his progress. He had cultivated relationships with administrative staff in the surgical department where Lily worked, gathering information about her integration into the team. "She's struggling," Harold said, showing no emotional reaction to his daughter's difficulties. The department head questions her commitment. "She's been late twice and unprepared for a departmental meeting." "Not like her at all." Vincent nodded. The environmental disruptions were having their intended effect, creating sleep deprivation and background stress that impacted their professional performance. "What about Ryan's mother?" Vincent asked. "Has she started treatment?" Harold consulted his notebook. "First session completed yesterday. Initial response positive according to nursing staff." "Good," Vincent said. We maintain current operations until her treatment course is completed. Nothing that might interfere with that process. Harold studied him with narrowed eyes, developing a conscience about collateral damage. Establishing boundaries, Vincent corrected. This is about justice, not cruelty for its own sake. The next phase of Vincent's plan involved more direct manipulation of their professional circumstances. Through his growing influence at Nexus Therapeutics, he strategically adjusted research priorities in ways that complicated Ryan's work without obviously targeting him. Critical equipment deliveries were delayed. Grant application deadlines were moved forward with minimal notice. Collaborative meetings were rescheduled at the last minute to conflict with other commitments. Meanwhile, Harold's connections in hospital administration ensured similar, coincidental complications in Lily's department. Her surgical schedule became increasingly problematic, with cases running longer than anticipated or being rescheduled at inconvenient times. Documentation requirements suddenly became more stringent for her specifically, creating additional administrative burden. None of these obstacles was catastrophic individually. Their power lay in accumulation, a constant drip of frustration and setback that eroded confidence and security. Vincent monitored the results through surveillance, watching as Ryan and Lily's relationship began showing signs of strain under the pressure. "I don't understand why everything is so difficult here," Lily complained during dinner one evening. "We were supposed to have a fresh start, but I feel like I'm fighting uphill every day." Ryan was less sympathetic than expected. "Every transition has challenges. You need to adapt faster. I'm facing the same issues, but managing to stay on track." The subtle competition in his response, positioning his adaptation as superior to hers, confirmed another aspect of Vincent's assessment. Ryan's support had been conditional from the beginning, offered when it served his purposes or when the cost was minimal. Under genuine pressure, his self-interest emerged more clearly. Vincent's direct interactions with Ryan increased, always maintaining the professional pretext while gradually establishing an unsettling familiarity. During one facility tour, Vincent deliberately referenced a restaurant in Philadelphia that had been Ryan's favorite. "The design reminds me of Maximilian's Back East, that blend of modern aesthetic with classical touches." Ryan stopped abruptly. "How did you know I frequented Maximilian's?" Vincent maintained his calm demeanor. "Did you? Interesting coincidence. It was a popular spot in Philadelphia. I consulted on their renovation before moving here." Each encounter added another layer of unease, the sense that this stranger somehow knew things he shouldn't. Ryan began researching Victor Bennett online, searching for connections to his past. Vincent had anticipated this, creating a carefully curated digital presence that provided professional credibility without obvious links to his former identity. 10 weeks into their relocation, the first major crack appeared in Ryan and Lily's relationship. Vincent's surveillance captured a significant argument, Ryan accusing Lily of undermining his position by complaining to colleagues about their difficulties adjusting to Rochester. "Do you have any idea how that makes me look?" Ryan demanded. "I vouch for you to get this position." "Vouch for me?" Lily responded incredulously. "I'm a board-certified pediatric surgeon with an impeccable record. I didn't need your endorsement to be qualified." "That's not how things work in practice, and you know it," Ryan shot back. "Connections matter. Politics matter. And you're damaging both with your constant negativity." The argument escalated until Ryan stormed out, leaving Lily alone in their increasingly hostile apartment environment. Vincent watched her cry for 20 minutes before calling her parents home, a connection she had avoided since moving to Minnesota. Marie answered, but quickly passed the phone to Harold, who was actually in Rochester watching the same surveillance feed with Vincent. "Lily, is everything all right?" Harold asked, seamlessly playing his role from hundreds of miles away. Vincent observed the conversation with clinical detachment as Lily confided her struggles to her father, unaware that he was actively participating in creating them. Harold maintained his cover perfectly, offering sympathetic concern while subtly reinforcing doubts about Ryan's commitment. "Men like that are often most charming when things are easy," Harold told his daughter. "It's adversity that reveals true character." After the call ended, Harold turned to Vincent. She's reaching her breaking point sooner than expected. Ryan isn't, Vincent replied. His focus remains on his mother's treatment and his professional establishment. We need to accelerate the timeline. Harold nodded in agreement. What's the next phase? Vincent pulled out architectural plans for the Nexus Research Facility. We introduced them to Victor Bennett's predecessor, Vincent Blackwell. The structural integrity of Ryan and Lily's new life was compromising under precisely calculated pressure. Soon, it would be time for the controlled demolition phase of Vincent's revenge. Chapter 7. Calculated Collapse. 3 months into their Minnesota relocation, Ryan and Lily attended the Nexus Therapeutics Winter Gala, a formal event celebrating the research partnership with Mayo Clinic. The venue sparkled with holiday decorations, medical elites in formal attire networking over champagne and gourmet hors d'oeuvres. Vincent observed from across the room, timing his approach carefully. Ryan stood with department heads, positioning himself at the center of discussions about research priorities. Lily hovered at the periphery of these conversations, her discomfort evident in her rigid posture and forced smile. The strain between them had become visible to colleagues, generating whispered speculation about trouble in paradise. Vincent had prepared meticulously for this moment. His appearance had been further refined, the beard precisely trimmed, contacts enhancing his natural eye color, tailored suit creating a silhouette distinctly different from his former self. He approached the group during a natural break in conversation, glass of sparkling water in hand. "Dr. Fletcher, good to see you," Vincent greeted Ryan with practiced casualness. "The vascular regeneration proposal is generating significant excitement among our investors." Ryan acknowledged him with a nod, clearly trying to place this man who seemed increasingly familiar, yet stubbornly unidentifiable. "Mr. Bennett, have you met my partner, Dr. Lily Blackwell?" Vincent turned to Lily, extending his hand. "A pleasure to finally meet you. Your reputation in pediatric surgery precedes you." Lily's grip was professional but distant. "Thank you, though I'm still establishing myself here." "Transitions take time," Vincent replied, holding her gaze a moment longer than comfortable, especially when built on complex foundations. Something in his phrasing made her blink, a slight furrow appearing between her brows. Vincent maintained the interaction for exactly 4 minutes, long enough to establish presence without drawing undue attention, before excusing himself to speak with Nexus executives. Throughout the evening, he positioned himself to remain in their sight line, a constant peripheral presence. When the formal dinner began, seating arrangements placed him at a table adjacent to theirs, close enough to occasionally enter their conversation without appearing to force connection. During dessert, Vincent executed the next phase of his plan. Drew Porter, his college friend and Nexus executive, approached their table with orchestrated enthusiasm. "Victor," Drew called slightly too loudly. "The Minneapolis committee loved your proposal for their medical center. Said it reminded them of Vincent Blackwell's work. Highest compliment in the industry." Vincent shook Drew's hand, aware that Ryan and Lily had both stiffened at the mention of his former name. High praise indeed. Blackwell was a visionary. "Was?" Drew questioned, playing his unwitting role perfectly. "Has he retired?" "Just disappeared, from what I understand," Vincent replied, voice pitched to carry to the neighboring table. "Personal issues, apparently. Brilliant mind, though. His Westlake Medical Center design revolutionized patient care environments." Ryan's fork clattered against his plate. Vincent continued his conversation with Drew, pretending not to notice while monitoring Ryan's reaction through his peripheral vision. Lily had gone pale, her hand gripping her water glass with white knuckles. The seed of recognition had been planted. Later that evening, Vincent's surveillance captured their reaction when they returned home. "That architect," Ryan said, loosening his tie with agitated movements. "Something about him isn't right." Lily sat heavily on their sofa. When he mentioned Vincent, did you notice how he said it? Like he was enjoying some private joke. "You're being paranoid," Ryan replied, though his tone lacked conviction. "Blackwell is a common name in architecture circles." He knew specific details about Vincent's work, Lily insisted. "And there's something about his mannerisms, the way he phrases things." What are you suggesting? Ryan demanded. That Vincent somehow followed us to Minnesota? Changed his appearance? Infiltrated Nexus Therapeutics? That's ridiculous. Lily didn't respond immediately, her expression troubled. I should never have called him 27 times, she finally said quietly. It felt like harassment, even as I was doing it. What if we push him too far? He's gone, Ryan said firmly. Probably living on some beach with our divorce settlement. Stop creating problems when we already have enough real ones. Vincent watched this exchange with cold satisfaction. The cognitive dissonance was taking root, the possibility too absurd to accept yet too disturbing to dismiss. He increased the environmental manipulations that night, programming the home automation system to create subtle but unmistakable anomalies. Lights dimming momentarily when Vincent's name was mentioned, the temperature dropping sharply for 30 seconds at random intervals. The following morning, Vincent implemented the next phase at Mayo Clinic. As Ryan entered his research lab, he found his team gathered around a computer, reviewing a professional journal article. Dr. Fletcher, have you seen this research on vascular regeneration in trauma patients? His assistant asked. Published last month. The methodology aligns perfectly with your current protocols. Ryan moved to the screen, then froze as he saw the author's name. Vincent Blackwell, MD, PhD. This must be a mistake, he said, voice strained. Vincent Blackwell is an architect, not a medical researcher. His assistant looked confused. The credentials check out. Affiliated with Johns Hopkins. Should I contact him about potential collaboration? No, Ryan replied too quickly. Let me review the paper first. Could be a different Blackwell. Throughout the day, references to Vincent Blackwell appeared in Ryan's professional sphere. His name mentioned in departmental emails, cited in research documents, appearing on consultation requests. Each instance was arranged through Harold's administrative connections and Vincent's strategic digital insertions. None was overtly threatening, yet their cumulative effect created a sense of omnipresent surveillance. Simultaneously, Lily experienced her own version of this psychological pressure. Patient charts inexplicably included notes in handwriting reminiscent of Vincent's. A new hospital administrator with the surname Blackwell requested her participation in a committee. A child brought to her clinic wore a T-shirt from Vincent's alma mater. These manipulations accelerated over the next 2 weeks, gradually increasing in frequency and specificity. Vincent orchestrated his physical encounters with strategic precision, appearing in elevator doors as they closed, glimpsed across parking lots, present in meetings Ryan attended, but always positioned to avoid direct interaction. The psychological toll became evident in their behavior. Ryan grew increasingly paranoid, checking over his shoulder constantly, researching Victor Bennett obsessively, installing additional security measures in their apartment, unknowingly creating more access points for Vincent's surveillance. Lily became withdrawn, her professional performance suffering as sleep deprivation and anxiety took their toll. Vincent monitored these developments through multiple channels: direct observation, surveillance feeds, hospital gossip relayed by Harold, performance reports obtained through Nexus connections. The controlled demolition was proceeding as designed, each pressure point precisely targeted to maximize impact while maintaining plausible deniability. The critical moment came on a Tuesday evening. Ryan returned home to find Lily sitting in their darkened living room, a glass of wine in hand, staring at her phone. I found something, she said without preamble. About Victor Bennett. Ryan dropped his briefcase, moving quickly to her side. What is it? Lily held up her phone, displaying a professional biography. There is no record of Victor Bennett before 8 months ago. No previous architectural work, no education history, nothing. He appeared out of nowhere with a fully formed career. That doesn't prove anything, Ryan argued, though his voice lacked conviction. I showed his photo to that new nurse in pediatrics, the one who transferred from Philadelphia General, Lily continued. She said he looks familiar, but couldn't place him. Then I used one of those age regression apps. She swiped to another image. Vincent's current appearance digitally altered to remove the beard, adjust the hairstyle, add glasses. Ryan stared at the image, blood draining from his face. Jesus Christ. It's him, isn't it? Lily whispered. He's been here all along, watching us, playing with us. We need to leave, Ryan said, already moving toward their bedroom. Pack essentials only. And go where? Lily demanded, following him. He found us here. What's to stop him from finding us anywhere? We'll figure it out, Ryan insisted, pulling luggage from their closet. The important thing is getting away from him now. Vincent watched this panicked response with detached interest. The collapse was proceeding faster than anticipated. Time to accelerate the final phase. He picked up his phone and called Harold. They're planning to run. Implement containment protocol. Within 20 minutes, as Ryan and Lily were frantically packing, their apartment door chimed. The building manager stood outside with an apologetic expression and 2 security guards. Dr. Fletcher, Dr. Blackwell, I'm sorry to disturb you, but we've received noise complaints from several neighbors. Our security team needs to speak with you. Ryan attempted to dismiss them, but the manager insisted on entering. As the conversation grew increasingly tense, Lily's phone rang, the hospital administrator requesting her immediate presence for an emergency case. Simultaneously, Ryan received an urgent text about his mother experiencing complications during treatment. Their escape effectively blocked. They separated, Ryan rushing to his mother's side, Lily to her patient. Vincent had orchestrated these emergencies through Harold's connections, ensuring neither was life-threatening, but both requiring legitimate professional response. While they were gone, Vincent entered their apartment using the access he'd long established. He left no physical evidence of his presence, but made one critical change to their environment, activating the final phase of his custom software that would reveal his surveillance and manipulation over the coming days. When Ryan and Lily returned separately to their apartment, both emergencies resolved without serious consequence. They found their home security system displaying a simple message on every screen. I see you. The calculated collapse had begun its final, catastrophic phase. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. The morning after the I see you message appeared, Ryan and Lily awoke to find their apartment transformed into a testament to Vincent's omnipresence. Every digital screen, from their television to their refrigerator display, cycled through surveillance images of them taken over the past months. Their smart speaker system played recordings of private conversations on a continuous loop, focusing particularly on moments when they had discussed Vincent or rationalized their betrayal. My God, Lily whispered, staring at their living room television as it displayed footage of them sleeping from the previous night. He's been watching everything. Ryan frantically tried to disable their devices, unplugging systems and removing batteries, but the surveillance continued uninterrupted. Vincent's software had created autonomous backup systems throughout their home. More disturbing than the surveillance itself was the revelation of how comprehensively their environment had been manipulated. Temperature fluctuations, appliance malfunctions, sleep disruptions, all meticulously documented as intentional interventions. We need to go to the police, Lily insisted, already reaching for her phone. Ryan grabbed her wrist, stopping her. And tell them what? That the husband you cheated on has been spying on us? That we're being harassed by a man who technically doesn't exist? Victor Bennett has legitimate credentials. Vincent Blackwell disappeared. We have no proof connecting them. So we do nothing? Lily demanded, jerking her arm free. We leave, Ryan said firmly. Today. Forget our things. We check into a hotel and figure out our next move. As they hurriedly packed overnight bags, their phones simultaneously received text messages from an unknown number. Running won't help. I'm waiting at the Lakefront Hotel, your most likely destination given its proximity to Mayo Clinic and Ryan's mother's treatment facility. Perhaps the Windsor Inn? That will be my second choice. The message continued. I've prepared detailed dossiers on both of you, including evidence of ethical violations in Ryan's research applications and Lily's testimony against former colleagues during last year's malpractice investigation. Nothing illegal, but certainly career-limiting if distributed to the Mayo Clinic Ethics Committee. Meet me at the address below at 7 p.m. Come alone. Both of you. Ryan threw his phone against the wall, cracking its screen. This is insane. He can't do this. He already is, Lily replied, her voice hollow. What choice do we have? That evening, they arrived at the specified address, a lakeside property on the outskirts of Rochester. Vincent watched their approach through security cameras, noting Ryan's aggressive driving and Lily's rigid posture in the passenger seat. They had followed his instructions to come alone, though Ryan had made 3 phone calls from a borrowed hospital phone, likely attempting to arrange some form of backup. Vincent activated the exterior lighting as they approached the front door, illuminating the modern architectural masterpiece he had purchased 3 months earlier through a shell company. The design was unmistakably his. Anyone familiar with Vincent Blackwell's architectural style would recognize his hallmarks in every line and angle. When they rang the doorbell, Vincent took a moment to study them on the monitor. Ryan's false confidence barely masking his fear, Lily's resignation evident in her slumped shoulders. He pressed the intercom button. Enter. The door is unlocked. They stepped into a minimalist entryway that opened to a dramatic great room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the frozen lake. Vincent stood at the center, his transformation now reversed. Clean-shaven, glasses instead of contacts, dressed in the tailored style they would recognize from his former life. Vincent, Lily breathed, the last shred of denial evaporating. Welcome, he replied calmly. Please sit down. We have much to discuss. Ryan remained standing, fists clenched at his sides. This stops now. Whatever game you're playing, it's over. We'll get restraining orders, press charges for stalking, harassment. With what evidence? Vincent interrupted smoothly. Victor Bennett doesn't exist beyond professionally verified credentials and a spotless reputation at Nexus Therapeutics. Any surveillance equipment in your apartment would show no external access points. All activities originating from your own accounts and devices. As for harassment, I have hours of recorded conversations where you both expressed guilt and fear that I might seek revenge. Preemptive paranoia doesn't constitute evidence of actual threat. Vincent gestured again to the seating area. Now, shall we discuss this like adults? Or would you prefer I forward my documentation to the Mayo Clinic Ethics Committee tomorrow morning? Reluctantly, they sat on the edge of a sleek sectional sofa while Vincent took a chair opposite them. The positioning was deliberate, placing them together as a unit while he remained separate, in control. Why? Lily asked, her voice barely audible. Why go to these extremes? An interesting question from a woman who called me 27 times after I discovered her betrayal. Vincent replied evenly. The answer is simple. Actions have consequences. You both made calculated decisions to betray my trust. I've made equally calculated decisions about the appropriate response. Ryan leaned forward aggressively. So this is revenge? Terrorizing us for months because your feelings were hurt? Vincent's expression remained impassive. This isn't about hurt feelings, Ryan. This is about accountability. You systematically undermined my marriage for years before the affair began. Subtle comments about my work schedule, exaggerating my absences to Lily, positioning yourself as the understanding friend while painting me as the neglectful husband. I have the emails, the text messages, the recorded conversations documenting your methodical approach. He turned to Lily. And you, so quick to believe his narrative, so eager to rewrite our 15 years together as a mistake you needed to escape. Did you ever actually try to address your concerns with me directly? Or was it easier to accept Ryan's version of reality? That's not fair, Lily protested weakly. I tried to talk to you about your work schedule, about starting a family. Twice, Vincent interrupted. You raised those subjects exactly twice in 5 years. I reviewed our text messages, emails, calendar entries. 2 conversations that you quickly abandoned when I asked for specific examples of neglect. He leaned forward. Meanwhile, you were confiding in Ryan several times weekly about your troubled marriage, a narrative that conveniently evolved to justify your betrayal. Ryan stood abruptly. We don't have to listen to this psychoanalysis bullshit. What do you want, Vincent? Money? The house in Philadelphia? Name your price, and let's end this. Vincent laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to startle them both. You still don't understand. This isn't a negotiation. This is a reckoning. He gestured around the room. Everything you've experienced since arriving in Minnesota, the professional setbacks, the relationship strain, the psychological pressure, has been precisely engineered to achieve specific outcomes. You're insane, Ryan whispered. No, I'm methodical, Vincent corrected. And effective. Your mother's cancer treatment is proceeding well, by the way. I've been monitoring her progress carefully. The trial medication is showing remarkable results. Ryan went pale. You stay away from my mother. I have no intention of interfering with her treatment, Vincent assured him. Unlike you, I don't target innocents in my operations. In fact, I delayed certain aspects of my plan to ensure her medical care wouldn't be disrupted. He turned to Lily. Your parents send their regards, by the way. Lily's expression shifted from confusion to horror as understanding dawned. My father. He's been helping you? Harold has been an enthusiastic collaborator, Vincent confirmed. Apparently, he never approved of your relationship with Ryan. Something about recognizing self-serving ambition when he sees it. Ryan paced the room, agitation increasing. What is the point of all this? What do you want from us? Vincent stood, moving to a side table where he retrieved 2 folders. He handed one to each of them. These contain documentation of your professional missteps since arriving in Minnesota. Ryan's research protocol violations, Lily's patient care documentation issues. Nothing manufactured, simply comprehensive records of errors made under pressure. The originals will be delivered to Mayo Clinic administration tomorrow, unless you comply with my conditions. Which are? Ryan demanded, not opening his folder. Separation, Vincent said simply. You will end your relationship immediately. Ryan, you will accept the position at Johns Hopkins that was offered last week. Yes, I know about that opportunity you've kept secret from Lily. You will have no further contact with her beyond professional courtesy if your paths cross at medical conferences. He turned to Lily. You will remain at Mayo Clinic, rebuilding your reputation through the mentorship program I've arranged with Dr. Warner. Your position is secure provided you demonstrate the commitment to excellence you were once known for. You can't force us to separate, Lily protested. I'm not forcing anything, Vincent replied calmly. I'm offering a choice between professional destruction and a chance to salvage individual careers. What collapsed under minimal pressure was your relationship. The first sign of adversity revealed its true foundation. He gestured to the surveillance footage still visible on a wall monitor. A recent argument where Ryan had blamed Lily for their mounting problems, his supportive facade cracking under stress to reveal the self-interest beneath. Look at yourselves, Vincent continued. The relationship you destroyed, 2 others to pursue, couldn't withstand even artificial obstacles. What does that tell you about its sustainability? Ryan tossed his folder onto the coffee table. This is ridiculous. We're leaving. Do your worst. Vincent nodded, as if expecting this response. Before you go, there's something you should see. He activated another monitor, displaying live video of Marjorie Blackwell's hospital room. Your mother's treatment is scheduled to transition from inpatient to outpatient next week. The medication that's saving her life is manufactured exclusively by Nexus Therapeutics, provided to Mayo Clinic through the research partnership I helped establish. Ryan froze, understanding the implicit threat. You wouldn't. I've respected medical ethics throughout this process, Vincent replied. Your mother's treatment has never been at risk. But continuation in the trial program requires physician advocacy. Your professional standing at Mayo Clinic directly impacts your ability to ensure she receives optimal care. Vincent deactivated the monitor. This isn't a threat. It's simply reality. Your actions determined this situation long before tonight. The room fell silent as the true scope of Vincent's orchestration became clear. He hadn't just infiltrated their professional lives or surveilled their home. He had created an entire ecosystem of consequence around them, with multiple pressure points and leverage opportunities. You planned all of this from the beginning, Lily said, her voice hollow with realization. From the moment you walked out of that hospital room. I designed it the way I design buildings, Vincent acknowledged, with careful attention to both structural integrity and eventual impact. The foundation was your betrayal. I merely built upon what you provided. Ryan studied Vincent with a mixture of fear and reluctant respect. What happens if we agree to your terms? You each retain a chance at professional redemption. Separately, Vincent gestured to additional documentation in their folders. The separation agreement includes non-disclosure clauses regarding all aspects of our interactions. Break those terms, and the consequences will be immediate and irreversible. Lily opened her folder, scanning the detailed agreement within. You've thought of everything. That's what architects do, Vincent replied. We anticipate problems before they arise and design solutions that appear inevitable in retrospect. Ryan and Lily exchanged a long look, the weight of their situation settling between them. The connection Vincent had once envied now appeared brittle, already fracturing under the pressure of consequence. We need time to discuss this, Ryan finally said. You have until tomorrow morning, Vincent replied. The details for contacting me are in your folders. Choose wisely. As they left, Vincent watched their separate body language, already distancing from each other, blame beginning to overshadow whatever love had justified their betrayal. The collapse was proceeding exactly as designed. Now it was time for the final phase, ensuring they understood the true cost of their choices. Chapter 9. Foundations of Steel. 1 year later, Vincent stood on the observation deck of the completed Nexus Therapeutics research facility, surveying the structure that had helped facilitate his revenge and rebuild his future simultaneously. The building had already won 2 international architecture awards, establishing Victor Bennett as a rising star in medical facility design. Vincent had decided to maintain this identity professionally, a clean break from his past that allowed him to build something new from the ruins of betrayal. Harold Mitchell approached, nodding in appreciation at the snow-covered campus below. Impressive work, both the building and the strategy. Thank you for your contribution, Vincent replied. Their unlikely alliance had evolved into a respectful partnership over the past year, bound by shared principles about consequences and accountability. Have you seen today's journal? Harold asked, handing Vincent a medical publication featuring Ryan Fletcher's latest research paper, published from his new position at Johns Hopkins, exactly as Vincent had engineered. His mother's cancer is in remission, Vincent noted, scanning the acknowledgments section. Good. That was never part of the equation. Harold studied him carefully. You're still monitoring them both. It wasn't a question. Vincent didn't bother denying it. Information is power. I prefer to maintain awareness. The truth was more complex than he admitted to Harold. Vincent continued tracking Ryan and Lily not from vengeful obsession, but to ensure their compliance with his terms and to verify the effectiveness of his strategy. Ryan had indeed taken the Johns Hopkins position, rebuilding his career with the single-minded ambition that had always defined him. His research was genuinely valuable. Vincent saw no benefit in hindering medical advancement that could help others. Lily had remained at Mayo Clinic, gradually reestablishing her reputation through dedicated patient care and research contributions. According to Vincent's sources, she had recently begun dating a radiologist, a tentative step toward building something new from the lessons of her past. Neither had attempted contact with the other beyond necessary professional interaction at one medical conference 8 months earlier. Vincent's surveillance of that event had shown awkward politeness masking unresolved tension, exactly the arm's-length relationship his agreement had mandated. Do you ever regret not destroying them completely? Harold asked, interrupting Vincent's thoughts. You had the power to end their careers permanently. Vincent considered the question seriously. Destruction wasn't the objective. Consequence was. He gestured to the building around them. In architecture, we don't demolish structures without purpose. We remove what's unsound to build something stronger in its place. Harold nodded thoughtfully. And what have you built for yourself? Beyond professional success, I mean. The question touched on something Vincent rarely examined, the personal reconstruction he had engineered alongside his revenge. His relationship with Nora Sullivan, his former assistant now partner in his architectural firm, had evolved from professional respect to genuine connection over the past year. She knew his full history, had witnessed his transformation, and chose to remain beside him despite understanding the calculated ruthlessness he was capable of when betrayed. Something with a stronger foundation, Vincent replied simply. Later that evening, Vincent received a notification he had programmed long ago. A final message automatically sent to both Ryan and Lily on the one-year anniversary of their confrontation. The message was simple. Video footage of them in the hospital room when Vincent had first discovered their betrayal, followed by surveillance highlights of their subsequent panic as his revenge unfolded. The final frame showed a simple statement: consequence, not punishment. Remember the difference. Vincent closed his laptop, the notification confirming delivery. This final message served multiple purposes, reminding them that he maintained awareness of their activities, reinforcing the permanence of their separation, and providing closure to his orchestrated response to their betrayal. As he prepared for dinner with Nora, Vincent reflected on the architecture of revenge he had designed and executed. He had not sought to destroy Ryan and Lily, merely to ensure they experienced appropriate consequences for their choices. Their suffering had been proportional to their actions, their future opportunities limited but not eliminated. Most importantly, Vincent had reconstructed himself in the process. The man who had walked away quietly from that hospital room had been broken by betrayal, but the architect who emerged from that destruction was forged with stronger materials, unwilling to forgive betrayal, but equally unwilling to be defined by it. When Nora arrived, her warm smile and direct gaze reinforced this evolution. She knew exactly who he was, had witnessed his capacity for methodical retribution, and chose him anyway. "Ready?" she asked, taking his offer hand. Vincent nodded, leaving behind the final digital confirmation of his revenge completed. More than ready. They stepped into the winter evening together, moving forward into a future Vincent had designed with the same precision he brought to his architectural masterpieces, built on foundations of hard-earned wisdom and uncompromising strength. Not the life he had once planned, but perhaps a more authentic one, constructed with full awareness of what he was capable of, both in creation and consequence. The unforgiving architect had built his most significant structure not in steel and glass, but in the carefully designed aftermath of betrayal, a legacy that would endure in the lives of all involved, a testament to the fundamental principle that had guided his response. Every action creates ripples through lives interconnected. Choose wisely what you set in motion, for you cannot control where the waves eventually break. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.